Hi everybody, today we'll be wrapping up the Celestine Prophecy book with the Afterword. The book talked about the first insights 1 through 9, and each of the next insights, 10th, 11th, and 12th, each have their own book, but the Afterword is about living with the insights, so here we go. So, you've read the Celestine Prophecy. What happens next? After turning the last page of this book, I'm told that most readers feel that they've left with a new sense of inspiration about life and about their own journey. They realize that the Celestine Prophecy is a vision of how human life could be in the future. After all, this book is a prophecy, but readers also have questions. Is the Celestine future possible given the contentious state of modern life? And are the spiritual experiences depicted in the book actually available to all of us? The answer to both of these questions is yes. While I was writing the Celestine Prophecy, synchronicities began happening in my life frequently, and learning that meaningful coincidences are inspiring so many people as they read it has never ceased to delight me. Maybe this experience has happened to you too. Maybe a friend called to tell you she was reading the book just as you were about to send her a copy. Or perhaps you found yourself sitting beside someone who brought up the subject of synchronicity, and then you found you were neighbors. Or even better, you might have followed a hunch to read the book during a vacation, and every time you came to one of the insights, something occurred in your travels that paralleled the very turn of the plot that was happening in the book. When our perception of synchronicity is heightened and the coincidences come knocking at our door, there's simply no ignoring them, and more people every day are convinced that these tiny miracles in life are real. Yet, to understand this book completely, I think you should know a little more about the time frame which the Celestine Prophecy was written. It was before 9/11, before the Great Recession, and before the world became so cynical and secular. At that time, a cultural breakthrough was occurring in psychological science you might have heard of. It was called the Human Potential Movement, and it stemmed from the keen interest in maximizing human lifespan, developing our talents, and being all that we could in every way. When I first started to write the book, I had been working as a therapist and administrator in the area of social services for a while, and I could feel the changes happening in that field as well. There had been a flurry of new books, and for the first time, the science of helping was finally admitting that most of us already knew. When people have difficult issues that are holding them back from their human potential, those past hurts, overreactions, and anxieties that cause stress, normal counseling really doesn't work very well. We figured out that such emotional hurts and scars from the past are very difficult to just get over, no matter how much you talk about them. We were finding that, to be resolved, these hurts need to be replaced with a more transcendent and inspired new self that allows people to let go of their old defensive habits and move forward. To accomplish that task, one has to tune into a divine part of themselves, to their very own spiritual consciousness, not just a religious belief. This kind of breakthrough has to be a personal one, based on real spiritual experiences that you can grasp for yourself. I began to call such experiences authentic spirituality, and this is what you just felt as you read Celestine. This was the inspired climate which I found myself when I sat down to write this book. I had already experienced enough myself to believe that spiritual consciousness didn't have to be so esoteric or complicated, and that it feels much the same for each of us. In reality, our souls and brains are designed to pop open into this higher awareness, as Dr. Carl Jung had already established. My journey, and the experiences of others around me, had convinced me that humanity was slowly awakening through a series of insights that opened us up to the consciousness we were seeking. And in fact, these insights were already happening widely to people all over the world. I knew my role was to find a way to describe and communicate them. I had even seen old documents that had basically said the same thing, so this knowledge wasn't even new. Modern man was only catching on to the wisdom. So the Celestine Prophecy was written as an attempt to reveal these insights in a way that captured how personal spiritual awakening usually feels and how it can open up human potential for a greater life. When I finished writing this work, no one was in a hurry to publish it, so we got it out there initially by creating a small independent publishing company of our own. What happened next was uncanny. Readers recognized this awakening in themselves and began to pass the book on to their friends en masse, reaching all across all regions, religions, and cultures and philosophies, until it was literally everywhere. For a time, it was the most read new book in the world, which seemed to confirm everything the book was saying. But that was then. This is now. Since that time, Celestine has been out there simmering and being passed around as usual, standing against a secular, even atheistic, materialistic world like a flame in the dark. This surge of spiritual awakening has existed alongside a deeply dug-in corporate and governmental corruption that it has itself grown and become more apparent as the years have passed, exposing itself to enough people so that our awakening can now do something about it. You see, I've always thought that the book has been holding the space until 2 more generations could arrive, bringing in their own energy and outlook to the Celestine view of the future. I'm speaking of the millennial generation and their older children, who are now passing the book to each other at increasing rates, while at the same time feeling appalled at the evident corruption they see. Let's call these 2 generation groups the implementers. Are you a member of one of these 2 generations? Do you love someone who is? Then you might recognize what I'm about to say. These 2 generations are proving to be especially amenable to the most important task one faced after reading the Celestine Prophecy: staying awake. Once awake, you must avoid being sucked back into an unconscious secular world with all its toys and distractions, and not lose the sense of inspiration and possibility you sense in the book. And I believe you are indeed staying awake because you know inherently that there is something lacking in the world. You've seen the Matrix movie, and you know a breakthrough to higher consciousness is the real red pill. Now you've ingested these insights. They're resonating within you, and I hope you agree you're being called to a higher level of inspired living and all the creativity that comes with it. And although the corruption around you is daunting, you are questioning why it has to be this way. You want to know how this massive distortion of the human world happened. Why is life still so riddled with lying and the political manipulation of others? How did it get that way? Who created this mess? You can now confirm that the solution is not to tune out, but to tune in at a higher frequency and get yourself ready to instill a more truthful and enlightened new culture. We all seem to feel the critical mass forming, and the millennials and their children now make up more than 2/3 of the people on the planet, ready to add their influence on this important step in evolution, and every day these numbers grow. We can all be energetically united now. In the following pages, I want to offer you a proven way to build on the insights and inspiration you've already discovered. These suggestions can help you move to the top of your game by integrating and living all of the key experiences that make up a spiritual consciousness. Intentionally integrating these experiences allow you to be a stronger part of this strategic love wave that is poised now to sweep across Earth, casting light upon shadows to expose and replace the corruption with consciousness. We'll discuss how to increase your synchronicity, find a higher spiritual connection, implement your higher creative power, discover a guiding intuition, align with the gifts of good karma, heal your relationships, discover a life-inspiring sense of mission, and integrate them all into an inspiring way of life. As your consciousness becomes more powerful, you will see that all the abilities first begin when you notice you are being spiritually guided in life through the tiny miracles of synchronicity. 1. The ability to have a synchronistic life. If synchronicity exists, secular delusion falls apart. It's as simple as that. This is why synchronicity is so important. Once you can stay alert to the mysterious coincidences in life, you prove to yourself that we are all helped in this world by a force greater than ourselves. And once we really tune into this loving force, everything changes, regardless of your age when you choose to do so. Through synchronicity, we are open to all the other key experiences of spiritual consciousness, and that means you can be elevated to a level of intuitive knowingness that makes your journey immediately easier as it moves forward, and this can happen fast. Ultimately, synchronicity will help you identify and make progress on your personal mission in life and open the doors to allow you to actualize it. Synchronistic stories abound in every biography ever written, and yet, as a phenomenon, synchronicity has become recognized by the masses only in the last few decades. My favorite synchronicity story occurred in the life of Abraham Lincoln. Growing up in rural Illinois, young Abe's family was short of money, and his future seemed to be fixed. He would have to become a frontier farmer or a shopkeeper. Yet the future American president sensed more, although he couldn't see how it might occur. Then a single event changed his life. He happened upon a peddler down on his luck, asking for $50 for the last barrel of random goods. Sensing the man's plight, young Abe reportedly gave him the money. Then, when he finally emptied the barrel, Lincoln found a full set of law books at the bottom, from which he taught himself basic law. He was certified to the Illinois bar and went on to complete his remarkable destiny. Does synchronicity only occur to the famous chosen people? No. In fact, it could be argued that perhaps the most important missions are at the local level. Most people sense their destinies to make a key difference in the family, a community, a business, or a profession, and usually with little fanfare. The key point is to remember this: synchronicity is a real force, a divine hand that operates in the world. It is there to help bring us precisely the right opportunities at just the right time so we can pursue our own remarkable destiny. There's supposed to be a continuous flow of synchronicity in your life. Increasing synchronistic flow. There are many ways you can increase your synchronicity. First, you can set an intention for more meaningful coincidences when you greet each new day. We'll talk about how to do that later. And don't forget that when you're seeking answers, you must begin by identifying your questions so you know what information you're looking for, as you saw in the book. Your questions will be different every day, of course, but that's the point. Some days your questions will be finely attuned to your own personal set of circumstances, and sometimes they'll focus on the bigger picture, encouraging you to deepen your understanding of your path in the world. No matter where your focus lies, ensure that you regularly update your questions so your intentions are then clear and specific. Again, synchronicity is a real phenomenon and is always trying to occur to help you, but cultural forces are always seeking to lure you back into the idea that you're living in a dead secular universe. It's imperative that we stay aware so we don't let opportunities pass us by. While the big synchronicities often force themselves on us, the smaller ones often won't. We can all look back and see the more fateful occurrences in our lives. That first big stroke of luck that landed us a job that started a career, or the day we met that special someone who turned out to be our most cherished long-term relationship. But in these big synchronicities, a flow of smaller encounters await us. Alertness and boldness are key. Start by noticing who is moving in your energy field. Most synchronicity is delivered to you by other people, and it pays to notice the other people who enter a building at the same time you do, or jump into an elevator with you and give you a quick glance. Always be alert to who happens to be seated near you in a restaurant or who is beside you on an airplane. Also, some synchronistic information will come to you via the chatter that happens to be playing on a television when you walk by. Other helpful messages arrive via your computer when you are aimlessly surfing. Bookstores are especially alive with synchronicity. People are already there to seek information and often report that monumental synchronistic opportunities have happened just because their eyes went to a book across the room that seemed illuminated. Sometimes a book will literally fall off the shelf at your feet, as has personally happened to me more than once. Grounding the questions to ask yourself regarding these events are: why did I see this person or receive this bit of information at this particular moment? What have I been thinking about? How does this fit in with my journey? Sometimes merely seeing a person hints at the synchronicity. The person stands out to you, or you get a gut feeling about them. Seeing the same stranger several times in the same day or over a short period of time is especially important. I like to call this phenomenon orbiting. For instance, you might see someone entering a mall, and then notice him again in a clothing shop. Finally, you see him in the food court. It does you no good to go home and tell your spouse that you found it interesting seeing the same person 3 times. You have to explore synchronicity to see the deeper meaning. Here is where boldness comes in. You must find a way to talk to the person you are orbiting. Obviously, the challenge is how exactly to strike up a conversation with a stranger. Certain people feel freer to talk to strangers than others do, but you have to find a way. You have to be bold. A courageous persistence is required when you are threading out a synchronicity, so start talking about something, anything, with a person who you think you might have a synchronicity for you. The weather as a first subject will do, and see where the conversation goes. And why not? What is the worst that can happen? The person might look at you aghast and turn his head. So what? My grandfather used to tell me that the secret of a full life is learning how to make a fool of yourself gracefully, and I never forgot it. If someone is put off, just smile and send them energy. In reality, most people are basically friendly and talkative, so give it a try. The bottom line is that you have to explore the situation fully to increase your flow of synchronicity. You never know which conversation will be the one that dramatically changes your life or empowers you with a new understanding of who you are and where you are going. What to do when you lose your flow. Yet, right here, at this point when you're seeking a flow of synchronicity, certain questions commonly arise. Why do I go along for a while seeing meaningful coincidences, feeling like I'm on a synchronistic journey, and then something happens in my life that knocks me out of my flow? What is it that keeps holding me back from a life I know is possible? Answering these questions is absolutely paramount for all of us. When we experience a sudden setback, we are still awake, but our inspiration has dissipated and we're left wondering how to proceed. Thankfully, at this moment in history, enough research and discussion has occurred to resolve the conundrum once and for all. When we lose our contact with our flow of synchronicity, it usually happens because we are knocked out of it by a stressful life event and are thrown into a feeling of insecurity. The solution to that situation is always the same, as you will recall in the book Scenes on the Mountaintop. You must find a deeper spiritual connection that provides an inner security that sustains us in such moments and moves us back on track. 2. The ability to discover a deeper spiritual connection. The question is how to establish this deeper connection. The good news is that this question has also been explored and resolved during the human potential research, but we have to genuinely seek in order to find. Spirituality is the most personal of all decisions, and we again must shrug off the voices of the secular world seeking to pull us back into unconsciousness. The delusion again tells us that our moments of inspiration were a mere self-deception and fantasy. There is no divine force. The universe is still uncaring. Happily, we now know better. Enough people have genuinely established this connection for it to be a growing reality in the world, and how it feels has been thoroughly discussed in a plethora of books. When we experience it ourselves, we see it as exactly as all the sages and saints describe. It does give us a peace that surpasses all understanding. We do open up to a download of divine love and inner security. Our consciousness always expands as if we're connecting with our higher intuitive intelligence, one that directs us and helps us establish a more reliable flow of synchronicity. Such breakthroughs can happen in an instant, but more often, additional time is necessary to crack the full connection. Just know that when we generally seek, we always find the reality. It doesn't work some of the time or most of the time. It happens every time if we are patient, and it is your birthright. How spiritual breakthrough happens. Here's what you need to know. If you aren't experiencing synchronicity very much, or if it comes and goes, you must recognize that something very common is occurring. A life stressor has hit you and made you feel insecure and vulnerable, and your habitual defenses have kicked in to make you feel better and more secure, if just for a little while. The life stressor could be any issue or problem that occurs in life, and our defenses are the typical way we act or think that helps deaden the pain, and they can be any activity we can lose ourselves in. Overeating, chasing fun times, anger outbursts, spending money, workaholic obsessions, OCD behaviors are just a few examples. Theoretically, anything will work as a learned defense as long as you pursue the activity so intensely that it allows you to withdraw from consciousness for a time and feel better. Too often, some people learn defenses that are more dangerous, such as drugs or crime, and that can be tragic. Knowing your defenses is absolutely paramount to finding a lasting spiritual connection, one that gives you an inner security with which to handle life, so you don't have to waste time going in circles repeating the same delusive behavior or distraction that keeps you in only semi-conscious. Only then can you truly move forward in your synchronistic journey. Thankfully, the method to break through your defenses and establish inner security has been well explored and is simple. It's a form of meditation that merely requires you to sit alone with yourself, holding the intention to establish divine connection, which would feel like an inner love and security and an opening of the heart experience. Usually, just sitting alone in this manner is enough to get one's defenses to raise their ugly head. They will urge you to get back to your own stress-reducing addictions. In this meditation, you must always be alert to these anxious urges to flee, to get back to your own projects, or to pursue fun. Come back to your intention to intensify your emotion of love, even if you have to remember times in the past that you have experienced love in order to summon it again. However, the love you are looking for is a constant emotional state without an object. And again, be aware of any emotional states that pop up and merely let them go. The aim of this meditation is to form the habit of always catching yourself as early as possible when the other thoughts or emotions knock you out of your connection. The practice is to recognize you have lost your love state as soon as possible and return to your intention of seeking divine connection that replaces the stress. You do this over and over again until you can experience a stable emotional state of love and download of inner security, even bliss, with which you can sustain your flow regardless of the stresses in your life. Gradually, this stable emotional state will become a habit that you can maintain outside your meditations in your everyday life, and you will be free. Along with this inner peace comes all the other abilities that allow you to stay out of stress in the first place. That's it. That's all it takes to break through to your deeper connection. Its only hard part is to keep practicing this method until you see the results for yourself. Getting started. Getting started is easy. You merely find a place to sit with yourself and then set the intention in the way we discussed above. Intend to stay fully present in the moment, seeking to connect with the higher emotion of divine love. Let go of any other thought or feeling that is not that. Sometimes you will be swept away by your inner chatter, but merely let it go and return to your intention to connect in the present moment. It's important to make sure you're alone in a quiet place where you won't be disturbed by the outside world. If you have trouble being alone at all at first, the way I did, tough it out anyway. It's that important. After all, many of our defense mechanisms involve losing ourselves in the bustle of social life and conversation and pursuing conventional activities as a way to distract us from facing our insecurities. I always favor a place in the woods where I can feel the energy of the forest, but where you choose to connect is entirely up to you. You just have to be alone with yourself for a while. Even if you can only sit for a few minutes at first, gradually build up to 30 minutes and do it every day for a while. It is guaranteed to change your life. Will you never again lose your flow because of a stressful life event? No, a crisis will happen from time to time. But you now have a proven way of regaining your spiritual connection, and with it, an inner security, which gives you the presence of mind to apply another key technique to increase synchronicity, finding the positive inherent in all setbacks, sometimes referred to as finding the silver lining in any situation. You see, in reality, most walls we have hit in our own flow are important events that fine-tune our perception on the road to our ultimate mission. I know this is difficult, but some apparently negative events are preparing us, toughening us, or directing us in some manner. These events can be regarded as important synchronicities too, pushing us in a different direction. Finding the silver linings in so-called negative events helps keep our synchronistic momentum and instills a greater faith that we are on a path of destiny. It is here, where we can view most events positively, that we can develop our highest creative power. 3. Implementing your higher creative power. A heightened prayer or intention force naturally flows from your spiritual connection. Although this was briefly mentioned in Celestine, it was described in more detail in the subsequent book, The Secret of Shambhala. This is your ability to energize and add momentum to any area of your life where you need solutions or to meet a goal. It is your personal creative power. If you are investigating the power of intention for the first time, remember that the world generally disbelieves in prayer or intention power, although there is very good research showing that it absolutely works, as Dr. Larry Dossey has shown. But millions of people have been raised without any understanding of a divine force operating behind the scenes in this world, and so at first they have a knee-jerk reaction against the idea of intention power. Thus, they are left with only the secular hope that they'll be lucky in life. Don't let that be you. Be the spiritual scientist. Prove that the universe is designed for you to have a higher level of creativity in your life. Here's how to actualize this creative ability. Remember that, through this method, you are seeking to achieve a goal in your life or resolve a problem, and it works by bringing on more synchronistic flow to address the issue. First, take the time to establish your connection with divine love. Then center yourself in your current situation. It's also advisable to perform a quick check on your ego for a moment because, as the saying goes, you have to be careful what you wish for because you just might get it. Make sure you are seeking to create good, positive outcomes for all involved and that your intention springs from your higher intelligence. Once you feel you are doing the right thing, visualize your intention as completely as you can. Say the intention out loud, but don't merely ask for your goals. State the intention in affirmative language. Declare it as if it were already a reality. If you are wondering if using affirmations is desirable, look up the Lord's Prayer in the Christian Bible. It contains phrases that are declarative. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done. Give us our daily bread. The scripture doesn't recommend saying, "Please God, if you don't mind, and if I'm worthy, grant me these things." The scripture advises that we assert what we want as a faithful affirmation, coming from our divine connection. What you do next is very important. Give your intention a burst of faith power by feeling gratitude for it in advance. In other words, feel so confident in your intention that you can already feel thankful for it. And really summon it in yourself. Feel that exact emotion in your heart, gratefulness. This is a long-proven technique that activates your faith power. Many people, once they are familiar with these principles involved, sometimes use a shorthand way of setting intention. They affirm their connection with their intuitive intelligence by calling this force Spirit or Holy Spirit and set up their intention for a goal or for their life journey to go well by gratefully saying, "Spirit, bring this to us." Or when a problem arises, they say, "Spirit, resolve this matter," or "keep us safe." What to do when a prayer intention seemingly doesn't work? If your intention doesn't actualize immediately, don't jump to conclusions. I believe we always have to keep our options open and think, "I want this goal," or something better. It's always possible that you might be a little off in what you are specifically trying to create. You've still got to get a synchronicity that will guide you somewhere, but it might take a while to realize your higher intelligence wanted a slightly different destiny for you. Which brings us to another spiritual experience and ability that happens when you increase your connection, one that will give you even more synchronicity and a higher clarity about your journey, every step of the way. 4. Tune into your intuitive guidance. Seeking a higher spiritual connection, especially when you add your intention power, makes you more aware of your thoughts and urges. You begin to tune into another life-changing ability, observing your intuitive guidance. Intuition is a more direct proof that the spiritual consciousness is real, and one more way the universe is designed to help us. Personal accounts and biographies are full of fortunate moments when someone's intuition led to an action that headed off disaster, saved someone's life, or brought about an important synchronicity that extended their inspired journey. My favorite intuition story is the one I heard from a reliable source and has since gone viral. It's the story of a father's inner knowing. A man walked home from work the same way every day with some co-workers who lived nearby, and he enjoyed the lively banter and discussion that took place with his friends. But on one particular day, out of the blue, he found himself thinking about taking another route home. The emotional charge of this idea was so large that instead of fighting the urge or rationalizing it away, he excused himself and took the other route, just to see if anything of note might happen. Nothing occurred until he was about a half-mile from his house. It was dark by then, and no one seemed to be around. Suddenly he heard scuffling up ahead and then a scream. Running toward the scene, he could see a man attempting to assault a teenage girl, although he couldn't see her face. He yelled just in time, and the man fled. He gave chase for a moment, but then went back to check on the girl. It was his daughter. Such stories of intuition are plentiful, but the point is that we can cultivate this intuitive ability and use it to create an even greater synchronistic flow in our lives. Intuitions often call for you to do something or to go somewhere, where a life-enhancing synchronicity can take place. And often, if you fail to notice and follow the intuition, you miss an inspired moment when your life could have been moved in a more important direction. So, it is important to keep your spiritual connection strong and to learn how to detect your guiding intuitions. Intuitions come to you in a variety of ways. Some are ideas grasped as a whole and motivate you to do or create something. Some will be images that flash across your mind, showing yourself taking a certain action. Other times you will experience a gut urge to act in a particular manner. To detect your intuitions, it helps to first learn to distinguish them from ordinary thoughts by learning how each feels in your mind. An ordinary thought is one where you ponder a situation or decision by logically talking to yourself in words, like you might speak to another person, considering options or ways to solve problems or to get a project accomplished. This kind of ego thought can also be part of what your ego tells you when you feel insecure, and your habitual defenses are up, urging you to unconsciously pursue the crutches that you use to feel better. And intuition, on the other hand, merely drops in the back of your mind without any impetus on your part, although it might appear as a solution while you're thinking. The point is that an intuitive guidance is always given to you as a helpful gift, making suggestions from a higher place in your intelligence. To sharpen your perception, ask yourself, why did I think that now? Why did I feel an urge to act at this moment? Why did I see the vision of myself stepping forward in some way? How intuitive urges feel is another clue. Intuitions always come with a hint of inspired energy. It seems important to act. It feels like a forward step in your life. If intuition comes and you're still not clear on how to go forward, remember that some intuitions are about activities further in the future. I once saw the whole vision of the Celestine Prophecy while meditating in an old-growth forest. I saw the writing, the complete book, and the way it would be passed around the world. Of course, I had no idea it would happen. I didn't even know what the subject would be. It seemed like a fantasy, until a stream of synchronicity began that allowed me the vision to come true. So write down your life visions and look over them periodically. Some intuitions won't be clear until other events occur to reveal their meaning. Once you do get clear about the intuition, your next step is also very important. Don't just dive in. Give the proposed action a logic test. Ask yourself, is this realistic? How should I proceed to give it the best chance of working? But don't let the fact that it might seem somewhat impractical stop you necessarily. When I decided to quit my job and write Celestine, it was a long shot at best. Yet the inspiration was so high that I decided to do just that. I put in my resignation, cashed in my retirement account, and gave it a shot. Yet it's wise never to bet the house on any one project. I also found part-time work as a spiritual counselor at a local Unity church to make ends meet. Some intuitions, of course, don't give you much time to consider logic, such as the ones that come up in the middle of a conversation when you are suddenly urged to bring up a new subject or to say something very personal to someone. In that case, I would suggest checking to make sure that you're not saying it merely to build up your own ego, and that you think it would be positive for the other person. Then let it loose. After all, your motivation is to help, and in effect, you are proving to yourself that the cosmic design of the universe centers around helping. Sometimes you are helped, and then other times you are called to help others. And if you stay in alignment with this principle, your life takes off even more. 5. The ability to stay in karmic alignment. What if I told you that every time you intuitively help someone, using your intuitive intelligence to give them a life-changing synchronicity, a check for a certain amount of money would come in the mail? Would you believe it? Of course, I'm speaking symbolically here, but I believe you can prove to yourself that the universe is set up to work exactly in that manner. Small business owners have proven it for themselves for years, and you can confirm this experience just by observation. What all small businesses know is that they have to take care of the customers, meaning that they always think and act in their customers' best interests. They must give them good value, and they must not sell them anything they don't need, and if they can't help them, they must honestly communicate that fact. In short, they have to be givers. When they do, the word gets out that they shoot straight and genuinely want to help, and what happens? Business increases. And if they don't act in a positive manner, what happens? The word gets out quickly, their reputation suffers, and they soon go out of business. People can tell when we manipulate or lie. We see it over and over. But does this principle go deeper? You can prove it to yourself that it does. For instance, business that genuinely put the customer first also draw out-of-town or internet customers more readily. They will tell you that their customers find them in mysterious ways, talking about the energy of the web pictures or that the color scheme of the website drew them in. Obviously, the takers, that doesn't happen. They draw in other manipulators and controllers who try to take unfair advantage of them. Why do so many people seem to still act in this negative manner? Again, it is because of the dead universe. Scientists have convinced them that it doesn't matter, that the universe doesn't care. They imply it might be unethical, but why not manipulate to take better care of ourselves? Nobody else will. And of course, for them, nobody does. So what is this precise karmic design playing out here? It's obvious. Those of us who are givers in the world mysteriously draw in more people who are also givers, who show up to give us energy or support or mysterious information just at the right time, so our lives go easier and we stay more inspired. It's that simple and that spectacular. When we move in harmony with this operating program, this act immediately supercharges our lives, and this happens regardless of our age or where we start. It's never too late. So set an intention to be part of the greatest service possible for the people in your life, and begin to concentrate on what intuitive information you receive to give others. The guidance you receive to help could be about anything: a recent discovery of your own, something you sense they need, even just envisioning a boost of energy coming from your divine connection to them. But whatever comes to you to say or do, never fail to act on it. You are often there to be a synchronicity for the people who cross your path, and the more you help in this way, the more people will show up to be a synchronicity for you. This is the place to ask yourself, how would the world change if everyone was suddenly acting in karmic alignment? Everyone's creative flow would surge, and they would more quickly find their true missions to shine light on and replace the corruption. Also, don't forget there is one other way, as you'll remember from the book, to amplify your good karma: tithing. Tithing is not just a religious concept, it is a powerful spiritual technique, eminently provable, that is also fun and effective. I suggest practicing tithing in the following way. Decide to give a percentage of your money away to others, especially to the ones who have given something to you. Starting small is okay, but intend to get to the magical level of 10%. And remember that money is only a form of energy, flowing back to you according to how you use it. Let your intuition guide you on where to give the money. There is nothing more interesting than to have a certain amount of cash in your pocket and waiting alertly for what to do with it. You know something mysterious is going to occur to direct you, and if you keep your eye open, it will always will. 10% seems to be the number that most activates money energy coming back to you as a result of your tithing. And if you're just trying tithing, you'll soon see that it will. Some scriptures say that tithing is the only place where you can actually test the system and give it the full expectation that it will come back to you multiplied many times. I think, as Celestine suggests, the ultimate tithing will become our official economy on Earth. But for now, just prove to yourself that it works, and realize that alignment with the karmic design makes us all luckier, more inspired, and conscious enough to greatly improve our most cherished possessions, our relationships. 6. Healing your relationships. The ability to develop highly conscious relationships is another key way spiritual connection improves and inspires our lives. Remember, using intention to systematically connect spiritual downloads our inner security. This is important because many of the ills that befall our relationships concern security issues. When we feel insecure in our lives, we tend to make others our reason for living and our fallback support during hard times. Some of this is natural and can be elements of mutual caring and support, but only if it is done consciously and the power balance is equal in the relationship. This is especially true if the relationship is a romantic one. When the balance is not in place, problems arrive. But, of course, you know that. Rest assured that all abilities we've talked about naturally fix most relationships, but inner security is paramount because it centers you in your life movie and keeps you from merely becoming a minor actor in someone else's story. Being a minor player ruins the balance of power in a relationship and activates unconscious control dramas, as you read about. To establish a conscious relationship, each person must become inwardly secure and therefore not dependent on energy from the other. This produces equal power balance effortlessly. Remember that when you are centered in your spiritual connection, there is an endless supply of energy. Thus, with both people giving energy to each other, there is even more energy for helping to brainstorm goals, sorting through the meaning of synchronicities, and sharing parenting duties. But what if you have aspired to all that, and some of the people you are in a relationship with are not yet interested in making a spiritual jump, or are presenting very entrenched control dramas toward you? What do you do then? Especially if you want to work on saving the relationship. First, remember how the control dramas get started in the first place. When people feel insecure, they do things to feel better in various ways. We don't just have to defend against our own hurts and anxieties, we also have to defend against others who think we are trying to put us down or otherwise manipulate us to steal our energy. When someone puts us down, we sense we are under attack and pay attention to them. Because where attention goes, energy flows, they get a hit of energy from us and we feel diminished. So we tend to fight back by putting them down or manipulating them in return to get energy back. As you read in Celestine, this is the game played by too many, keeping too much conflict and corruption in the world. But this is all ego stuff, of course, developed initially in insecure families. You already know the cure is to always be spiritually connected, so we have to have our own centered inner security, which gives us an endless supply of energy, regardless of who is trying to steal it. We don't have to play these games any longer. Here's what to do. Simply stay connected with the person, giving them energy, and then naming their game. For instance, if you're facing a poor me drama in which the person wants to make you feel guilty about something you didn't intend to do, simply say, I am feeling that I'm being forced to feel guilty, and stick to that. Don't defend yourself. Just keep explaining your experience of the situation. Keep sending love. They might need to retreat, but you aren't affected. You are a giver, secure in yourself. You cleared an inauthentic game by expressing an authentic honesty. You offered your experience of the situation. Whether the other person wanted it or not, in response of your authenticity, they will find themselves becoming more authentic as well. And since you aren't disconnected, it opens the door to talk about true feelings in a relationship. Sometimes it's the aloof control drama you're facing, and the person is using distancy or mystification to get you to keep asking questions in order to win your energy. Collapse the game by giving them energy anyway and authentically saying, I feel like I really can't get to know you because you won't share details about yourself. Similarly, if you're facing an interrogator who bids for energy by constantly finding something to criticize you about, simply say that you feel criticized and put down when you are with them. They will feel your energy and authentic sincerity and again will grow more authentic themselves right in front of your eyes. The same name the game approach also works for the most aggressive control drama. The intimidator trying to get energy from you by telling you that they are going to blow up or do something crazy, literally trying to scare you into giving them energy. Gently name the game, but be careful. Sometimes it is more prudent to remove yourself from the situation. As you can see, the secret to a conscious relationship is to prioritize inner security, authentic truth-telling, and a higher giving of energy. Because you heal and enlighten those you are close to, you begin to gather around you all the support you need to synchronistically increase your flow in intuitive giving. And there, in the observation of your natural pattern of giving, you begin to remember your mission. 7. Remembering your mission. As you engage life more consciously, look out for others' best interests as well as your own and listening intuitively for the best way to help. A clarity about your life purpose emerges. As you begin to see a pattern in truth you are telling others. It could be about an aspect in life, wellness, teaching, government, coaching, business, or a myriad of other areas. Or it could be something totally unique that the world needs. Certainly, each of us can help in a variety of ways, but often we realize, at any age, that all of our experience has prepared us to help in a very specific way. We can see it in the way our intuitions are guiding us and the opportunities synchronicity brings to us. We feel that we are on a journey, ultimately heading towards some particular place or situation where we can help evolve the world forward. Here's what I think we discovered about the process. It is not about being recognized or famous. Fame, in a lot of ways, can hinder this process. It's about knowing yourself and staying on a path with heart. Here's a way to explore your sense of mission. Sit back for a moment, intending in gratitude that you get the clearest picture you can of your life purpose. Remember, all the turning points in your life can be viewed in a retrospect as synchronicities. So start with your parents or relatives. What did you choose, or why were you placed with this family? What could you possibly have had in mind? There are people who taught you, or didn't, what the world was about, what they felt was important, and how you should fit in. Ask yourself how you felt about these first experiences. What did you think was true about their worldview? What did you think was a little off? What might have been an uncompleted mission of one of your parents or relatives? Is your journey moving you toward completing the same mission? Think about it seriously. How you reacted to your early life situation is your first clue to what you might want to do in your life. How would you have changed your early circumstances if you could have? Now go on to think about the other important people in your early life. Who were your favorite teachers? What did they give you that was important in your early learning about the world? And who were the early friends that you gravitated toward? What synchronicities did they provide? What are your early interests in school? Why did you choose particular subjects to study? Looking back, there a synchronicity that led you to your very first job. Go on now and review the other major synchronicities that brought other important people into your life, perhaps even your spouse. What were the synchronistic meanings involved in your education and work to the present moment? What have your children or other children taught you? Most important, in viewing all the synchronicity in your life up to this point, ask yourself one critical question. What has all this input and influence prepared you to now go out and tell the world about living and experiencing a greater life? This is your current clarity about your mission, and it never really finalizes. All your life you will gain an even better idea of what you came to this world to accomplish. Your truth or gift will always be evolving as the world becomes more spiritually connected. 8. Integrate your abilities into a spiritual worldview. All the preceding information we reviewed here began as a discussion of how to stay awake and find a higher path in life. We talked about your ability to increase a flow of synchronicity in your life and why you must cultivate an additional ability, connecting spiritually at a higher level in order to do so. Then we showed how the intention power, intuition, karmic alignment, better relationships, and a sense of destiny and mission were all the abilities that sprang from this higher connection. Now it's time to explore how these abilities all integrate seamlessly into what might be called the Celestine Worldview. This, of course, is a worldview based on doing our part to evolve the world and to replace the corruption that is so alarming with a new, more spiritually connected culture. It is crucially important that we remind ourselves that all we have to do is live this consciousness out loud in order to build a better world. It is not a war. To let our alarm over corruption turn into hate is to join the dark side. The love connection we hold is what accomplishes everything, because when we live and talk about this consciousness, we become positively contagious to others. Remember, every soul is designed to pop into this inspired life. Imagine how a spiritual culture might feel and look. You wake up in the morning, and because you have practiced spiritual connection, mostly taming your old defensive habits by downloading your love-based inner security, you might quickly tune in and strengthen that connection. Your emotion would be one of love. This connection would give you a morning hit of inspiration as you check for your most prominent questions and wonder when the first synchronicity will happen to answer them. You set a fast affirmation that these answers will appear, including the intention that your day will unfold calmly and safely, and certain intuitions will guide you to the mysterious coincidences you anticipate. When you arrive at work, perhaps you step into a project or goal. Let's say you must develop a marketing plan for a new herbal-based nutritional supplement that has the ability to replace a drug that has many harmful side effects. First, you again give the project a hit of affirmation and intention that the marketing plan will be created smoothly and that the effect will be letting the public know the product is out there. And because you know to align with karmic design, you add something else to do. Personally research the supplement for yourself so you'll know you are working for a cause that helps people. Next, you follow the idea to use logic first. You begin a logical, practical approach to the task. You research the state of the art in today's world of marketing, but in the end, you realize these approaches aren't quite right for your project. You hold the question about this in mind, setting a more precise affirmative intention to find a better way. Perhaps you spend some time alone, strengthening your spiritual connection and focusing on your intuitive thoughts. For some reason, it comes to you to head to the park for a walk during lunch, which feels like an energizing idea. You know it's perhaps a guiding intuition, so you go. Lots of things come to your mind as you stroll. Tasks at home, an upcoming vacation, maybe some anxiety over the pressure to complete the project, which brings up one of your defensive habits, which is to lose yourself in the obsessive work. You even think about going back to the office to dig in. But you remind yourself that you are working, and return to love and calm as your emotional base. Suddenly, your eyes go to a park bench near a big tree, and you go over and sit down, realizing that there's a group of people on the other side of the tree, talking loudly and eating their lunch. You almost leave because of the noise, but you stay, and you can't help but overhear the conversation. As you listen, you feel an elevation of your energy. They are discussing life and the culture and the level of complete manipulation in commercial advertising. Why, a woman in the group says, can't businesses just tell the truth about what they are selling without all the hype and deception? And it hits you like a boulder. You think, that's right. Why can't businesses tell the truth? In an instant, you know you have your answer as to how you'll proceed with the marketing plan. You'll just tell the truth in the clearest possible way. The supplement works, and it's a great replacement for the drug. as long as you lower the amount of sugar in your diet and get proper amounts of other key basic nutrients. You return to the office with your conclusions, explain how you reach them, and your workmates listen, beginning to appreciate spiritual consciousness in a new way. Now, what did that above visualization convey? It shows that when enough of us live like this, others will notice and begin to explore this life for themselves, because it is so effective, fun, and monumentally important. To get to this reality, all we have to do is slow down and live our spiritual abilities. The universe is designed for all this to happen. We only have to honestly live it out loud and take this time to explain it to others. I hope you can sense the critical mass already building for this new outlook, already motivating a wave of people to enter human culture with a new consciousness and contagious energy, becoming relentless helpers and reformers. We can all tune into this love wave and then allow ourselves to be ever guided into the right place at the right time to make a difference. We hope you join in, because the higher approach offers us the best life possible and will evoke the only consciousness that can possibly save the world. James Redfield, Seaside, Florida, June 2008. Thanks for listening, everybody. That wraps up the entire Celestine Prophecy book. I hope you enjoyed. I'm thinking about doing read-alouds for the next 3 books, but that might take a while since babysitting's going to be picking back up. But again, thanks for listening. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you later. Bye!